Well, Shannon, today is the day. I'm going to learn Padlet. It's going to happen.
I
Are you
can't
ready
believe
to
it.
teach me?
Are you
Are you
sure
ready
there's
to
not going
teach
to be
me?
a meteor that falls out of the sky right now?
I think it's about 18 months coming. Well, you were telling me about the ways in which, like, it's incorporated video, the ability for students to use video. It's incorporated what Flip used to do because Flip is no longer a thing. It seems like Padlet has reached its critical threshold where I know it's going to be useful in some of these areas that I've sort of got blueprint mapped and I have ideas, but I don't have as a part of my Brightspace course currently.
Awesome. Well, Padlet has all kinds of new features that I've been playing with. So even more so than 18 months ago, I think it's a really great tool to use for
It hasn't
engagement.
gone away.
It
So
hasn't gone
now
away.
we'll see.
It's gotten much better actually.
Awesome.
So I'm a huge
All right,
advocate.
Caleb, if you want to share my screen, I'm ready to be the guinea pig. Ready to build.
All
Okay,
right.
so we're on the Padlet site. I got here. It's pretty easy to sign in. I happen to use my college account to sign in, but we're not currently sort of paying for any institutional access. So these tools are publicly available, right?
That's correct. So the free account on Padlet allows you to have up to 3 active Padlets at a time with all of the features. So they don't lock down any features for paid account, for premium accounts.
Okay.
So you can do the free account if you go. I think up just one level is I think it's $10 a month, and that gives you unlimited Padlets. So, in my opinion, it's worthwhile, but everybody can check it out and decide for themselves.
Okay, cool. Well, I went to my syllabus earlier. I pulled up my blueprint, which I've been doing and updating from time to time. And one thing I've done is like I've kept a column of just like things I'd like to do, but I don't know what to do. So I thought maybe, I know you've talked about some cool features of Padlet. Maybe this one is something I could do. Thinking about it in terms of like an evolved discussion board, maybe publicly share what civic activities you participate in. This is for an American government class. How do you contribute to your community? Sort of like a public sharing place that's pretty loosely tied to one of the ELOs, and there's a competency board directly aligned with it. I think for me, it would be almost like formative practice to sort of normalize these types of questions and making a connection to these things at the actual like political level, how your decisions and actions are a part of this framework of civic engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a couple of things that I think Padlet is really good for, and they are all relevant to what you just said. One is engagement. One thing that I find difficult when teaching online asynchronous classes is making sure that students are actually doing what I want them to do, right? Like that they're actually watching the videos and reading the text and all of that. And so if you put that stuff in a Padlet and you ask them to comment with a takeaway or a question or something like that, they'll have the opportunity to comment on every piece of content you put in there. And so you can kind of gauge whether students are in there and working by looking at that. And you can also do things like polls in Padlet at any time. And so if you want to get a quick gauge as to whether students understand something, you can ask a quick question, or even just to see if they're in there and they answer the poll, just to get an idea of engagement, you can do that. So that's one thing. The other thing I was going to say is it's just a nice way to organize the content that you want to present, and you can present it in a bunch of different ways in Padlet, including a slideshow, or just narrating it yourself, or just giving them all the content at once and letting them kind of pick and choose how they want to interact with it.
Okay. Okay. So, and I've heard a lot of people talk about, I'm thinking in terms of a discussion board, the ways in which like we don't quite get out of discussion boards a lot of what we're hoping for from students.
Right.
And I'm sort of curious, like what this would, I definitely want to try this to see if I get more engagement. All right, so if I want to build kind of what I described, kind of where should I start on the Padlet site? And this
Well,
is
you can.
padlet.com.
I mean, these are templates, so you can start with one of these if you want to. And there's see that if you go down one more, there's a discussion board, the squirrels.
Sure.
So you could start with this if you want to, and it will set up the Padlet in a way that will work well for a discussion. Or you can start with a blank one. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So why don't you just start here?
Okay, I'm gonna follow your advice. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do what you tell me.
You see, it gives you examples along the side there, so you can get some ideas as to what you might want to, how you might want to frame this discussion. But essentially, you're using the title space to write the discussion question.
Okay, so I'll just start with a real basic question. How do you contribute to your community?
And then in the description, I use that to put my expectations for the discussion. So start a new post using the plus in the bottom right corner and reply to multiple classmates or whatever.
Okay, I'll fill that out later. Got it.
Then you can change your wallpaper. You have full customization here. So you can do light mode, dark mode. You can, if you're doing, a civil rights discussion, you can even search for an image or upload your own image to use as a background. So you can really make it relevant to the content.
Stylized. Okay.
And then you can choose to turn commenting on or off. So that's important to know. So if you just want students to look at things and you don't want comments, you can turn them off here.
I would definitely want comments for this kind of thing. And I know that there's options in D12 Brightspace for like upvoting and things like that, but students never seem like naturally presented where they're actually using those tools. Yeah.
I like to just use the like button because I feel like it's pretty, you're not downvoting anything, right? You're just, again, it's just another way to interact. Post fields. So this is sort of a newer thing in Padlet. If you click on this, you can actually customize exactly how students can engage with these posts. So if you want to just do an audio or video discussion, you can have only those options turned on. If you just want students to post an image they found online, or you're having them all look up a newspaper article or a YouTube video or something like that, you can only have those things turned on. So they can't interact in ways you don't want them to.
And so I'm a big user of video, and so I would definitely want to experiment with that. That's neat. What's this? I can't draw. Do you know what that is?
That's an AI drawing tool. So if they click on that in a post, they just type in a sentence or two, and it will generate an AI image that they can post.
Okay, so it's almost like a Jackbox party pack kind of. Let's have fun with visualization or something like that. Or okay.
Sure. So for example, in my college experience class, I have students do that. Think about your big picture, like your dream job, and put in a couple of sentences that might describe that, and then see what the AI spits out and post it. And we have fun.
I have students make a campaign poster for this class to introduce themselves, but oftentimes like there's the people that sort of have those skills and are like doing that kind of thing, and then the people who use like Microsoft Word and just write the most, create the most basic thing. So they don't have as much fun with it as if they could just have it draw for them. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's assume that most of those settings are okay for me if we want to advance forward. Anything else here that you see?
Probably not. The only other thing I would say is if you want to moderate comments, you can do that just in case you would have a troll or a bot or something. That's never happened to me, but it is an option. So I usually put it on auto.
Sure.
It would like filter out any profanity.
Oh, it's looking for like curse words or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Okay. And I see up here all these different. That's a way to navigate too. Got it. Okay.
Yep. Now there is a way to grade discussions, and this is something I'm still kind of playing with. I saw it. I don't see it here, but where I saw it was when I used a breakout link, which I'll show you, to get to a discussion post. And maybe you have to actually have a post on here first, because I think it was related to a specific post.
All right. So should I make a post?
Yeah, go ahead and make a post. Use a plus. Okay. Yep. And this is exactly how students would do it too.
Cool. Okay.
So now if you click the plus button at the end there, you would get all the other options.
I'm going to get there. I swear I'm going to get there.
Right there.
There it is. Oh, I see it. Okay. Yeah. I instinctively kind of wanted to reduce the options because I found them so overwhelming, and then push comes, in practice, I did find them overwhelming. I didn't see it. I see it there.
Right.
This is great because I'm seeing this for the first time. I'm logged into Padlet for the first time. I am a student.
This is not a simulation.
Right. Well, I like these options. I like the presentation of the obvious options. Like I was instantly thinking about, putting a picture here is awesome and very, very simple if I'm a student here, which is kind of the thing I want them to do.
Yep.
Kind of as a get to know you or file or link. Okay, cool. So I would personally probably limit to just a few options and kind of see what folks do. But as I get more comfortable with this, I might open that up and encourage more. Okay, so I'll just write something here for now. So I am.
And real quick before you start typing,
sure.
You see how it said write your discussion response here?
Yes.
Before you started typing. That is also a customizable field. So that automatically came in here because you used a template. If you were making a blank Padlet, I think it would just say write something beautiful. And so you can customize exactly what that says. So if you want to put in specific directions for your students, they can go there.
Okay. Cool. Okay, I am working at my local polling place next week, and have been a election worker in the past. Cool. I'm going to publish that. See what happens.
So it's more exciting if you publish a picture or something to go along with it. But yes, this is the basics. You can edit it. Yep. You can go back in and add stuff. You can change the color of the post using the little 3 dots in the corner. You've got some options over there too.
Cool. Unrelated picture. Something on my desktop.
And then the other thing you can do, so let's say you're starting this discussion board and you want to put the first post on here to kind of show your students to an example of what they should do.
Sure.
You can pin this post so that it stays front and center. So even when they start adding theirs and it starts to look a little bit more full, your post will still be the first one they see.
Got it. Cool. What was it? Do you happen to know what that Padlet cover was? Is that like if I send a link to the Padlet or something like that?
Yeah. If you post a link or you embed a Padlet in Brightspace, you can embed the preview image, which will show the Padlet cover.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
That can be an image or a GIF will work for that.
You saw my
cool,
face,
right?
It's a GIF.
It's pretty cool. I know.
Yeah, thinking through how to connect this, and I probably don't want to ditch the discussion board if I really like this, potentially, at least not first. So how do I go from one to the other? I'd want it to be nice, embedded, clean, easy for students to understand they're going somewhere else, but I need them to come back to Brightspace. Those would be things I'd have to kind of work through a little bit. Okay, cool. So you obviously people can comment, and that might be a part of my expectations in terms of replying.
Yep.
What else? What other tools are here? Are there other channels of communication other than comments?
So it would be comments or posts, right? So same as a discussion post, threads or replies are basically what you're looking at here. It's just not linear. Now there is a layout in Padlet that is a linear stream. So which is like kind of very social media like. And so you could use that for a discussion as well if you wanted to.
Okay. What do you think? Should we pivot from this to something else?
Sure.
Okay. And again, if I lock this down, like the actual video recording, that might be worth for my own sake. I'm interested. So if I were to hit video recorder, sort of so right now, yeah, you can see it on screen. Perfect. So I'm giving the Padlet permission to use my camera and mic. I'm using them currently, but it seems to be letting me do both. Okay, that seems pretty easy. It's a lot like the video note tool in Brightspace.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar, actually. Do you have in offhand how long the recordings can be?
I want to say 10 minutes or something there. It's a while. And I do know that Padlet, I just watched a webinar recently, 2 things that are coming or maybe just rolled out, video editing, and also setting a time limit for learners. So if you only want 2-minute videos and you don't want to have to listen to 10-minute videos, you can set a limit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting.
So that if it's not here now, it's coming very soon.
Okay. I a lot of 2-minute videos in my class and a lot of 15-minute videos. Okay. So that was pretty easy. That was actually easier than probably recording a video note.
Yeah, and looking at the videos, it depends on your tier subscription. So it looks like for free, it's like 5 minutes for audio, 2 minutes for video. Okay. So, and they kind of go up, just kind of depending on your tier.
And I bet over time that even the free tier would probably creep up. But for my own purposes, like 2 minutes is actually pretty in line with what I would want, in a lot of cases. So that doesn't turn me off from using this, that's for sure. It was easy to do.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, what's next?
The only other thing I'll just mention really briefly, you see there's a search bar up in the very top of your Padlet. Scroll up.
Yes.
Okay. So let's say you want to do a discussion post in here. You're going to need to manually grade it, right? You can search for a name and you can easily see that student's posts really quickly. So you'll see how many they have and you'll be able to glance at them so that you can grade. So even though you're not grading directly in Brightspace, it's pretty easy to make the transition.
When students create, for our purposes in our college, when students create an account, like, are their usernames the only place you can see a name, or can you see the email associated with the name or anything like that?
So one of the settings allows you to require a name in the post. So if they are not logged in, they will have to put in their name. Then that's another newer feature in Padlet that I think is really useful.
Okay, cool. Give me a little SpongeBob icon.
You can also allow anonymous posting if you want to, right? So if you want to have a discussion that's more personal or whatever, you can do that too.
Okay. Seems flexible.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Next, should we try another one? I think you mentioned a map thing.
Yeah, the maps are pretty cool. Why don't you go back? You can just click the Padlet in the upper left corner.
Got it.
And I'll take you home.
And you said I can have 3. I could use 3 at any given time. If you have
a free account, you can have up to 3 going at once. Yep.
Okay.
So if you go to Make, the little Make tab in the top. So when I go to make a Padlet, I see these options along the side here, and the middle one is AI recipes. So let's start with that. And then what I was looking at, I think, is the map of historical events. And so here you get some questions and prompts to fill out, and then you'll get AI assistance to get a starting point for the Padlet. So what's the subject of our Padlet, Jordan?
Oh, let's do civil rights sites in Iowa.
Do you want to put a time frame on it?
Sure. 1950. Yeah, let's do a little earlier. Let's do 1945 through, I don't know, 1992, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe put civil liberties, court cases. Are those, the AI must be sort of using some of this text to try to narrow.
Oops. Yeah. I probably don't need this.
Interesting. It's trying to predict already what you should write.
Any additional details you want to put in?
Oh, I don't know. Focus on major court cases. Let's see what we get. I'm thinking of more like civil liberty stuff, but I bet we'll see some civil rights stuff in here.
All right, so we've got a Padlet that's got a map background, and when we click on these little markers, we will see relevant pictures, and we'll talk about court cases. Some of them are the same.
Pretty cool. So it's function, and one struggle I've had with Padlet is sort of imagining what it is. Like I picture it like a bulletin board, right? But then like it's growing and changing as a result, like as a result of tools like this. So what can students do with this? Can they contribute to it? Could they add a case? What can they do with this?
Sure, you could use this as a starting point, and then students will have the posting button just like they always do.
Oh, cool.
And they can go ahead and so they're going to have a little bit of a different look here, but they're going to be dropping a pin onto the map and looking for a place. So let's say you want to add something for, I don't know, Minneapolis. Now you have all of the same posting options you always had. So maybe we will actually, let's search for an image.
We can link to the oral arguments recording of a Supreme Court case. The potential there is really, really neat. That's cool. That's cool to imagine, like that interactive element. Something we talk about in like the discipline of history a lot is which we kind of struggle to talk about geography or its significance. We don't have the old maps like we used to, like in the classrooms and stuff like that. So a tool like this would be even more powerful way to talk about place, in these disciplines.
It would even be cool for you to have a map like this and have your students drop a pin where they live, right?
Sure.
And you could kind of see where everyone is, if anyone is kind of spread out, or talk about voting in those areas or whatever you wanted to talk about.
I have an existing assignment that would be much better presented here. Like I ask people, and a lot of times they do live in different places, like veterans that enroll in this class, like U.S. History 2, find a Works Progress Administration or Civilian Conservation Corps site, Great Depression. Like what is a place you know of that these workers contributed to during the Depression? And I send people out, they take photos, but to present it like this would be much better than a discussion board. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and they could go to the site still and do their video, which a lot of them do, which is really cool, and post it in here alongside historical videos and footage and things like that.
Yeah, their videos, they can upload a video just as easily as they can record it right here. So either one would work.
I'm impressed.
What else? You want to see anything else?
That's a pretty good demonstration. I'm sort of eager to play with it myself and then encourage others to see what they create, right? Like we just touched on like 2 potential recipes of 40 there plus anything you want to kind of create.
I think one other thing I wanted to show off were the views, because this is something I've been kind of playing around with a lot. So I've been using Padlet to create whole lessons. And so I don't want students to go and look at all of this at once because it seems overwhelming, right?
Right.
So what I do is I open the first post, and it's probably going to start automatically playing. Welcome to, and then I grab that link and I post that in the course, and then they automatically start at page 1. and it's this view, and they have the comment feature right here. And then they can page through the lesson right here. So they can do this in Brightspace. It can embed directly. So I really like that feature.
Was that like a little survey you had there?
That was a poll. Yep. You can add in a poll.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's that. And then the other thing, okay, and the other view is that you can do a slideshow. So if I click on any one of these posts, I can say start slideshow from this post, and then it looks like this. So now you've got a slideshow that you can still interact directly with it, but you can embed this directly in Brightspace. And if you wanted to get fancy, you could narrate this, right, and have a lecture that then students can come back and interact with the individual components.
That's interesting. So if it were a lecture, would each slide have a video component? Is that how you make it a lecture?
Well, you could, if you were going to record it in Padlet, then I think it would be like you'd have a short video explaining something, and then you'd show a slide with a video or a link or something on it, and then maybe you go back to a short video view. But I think you could also use like Panopto or another tool, Zoom or whatever, to record yourself just going over this slideshow, like a lot of instructors do with lecture video.
Oh, sure.
And then just explain what things are and talk about them a little bit, and then tell the students to go back in to the Padlet, or even pull it up next to the lecture, stop the lecture, watch this video, or go read this link, and then come back and hit play again. So that could be a cool way to have a lot of interaction and engagement alongside of the lecture.
Right. I'm thinking about like our credit hour policy and like the ways in which the potential for expanding direct instruction and what these tools mean in terms of like a synchronous voice, right, kind of guiding your activities, no matter if it's 1:14 in the morning, explaining with someone present in the course, pre-recorded, but with you, we're exactly where you are. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, this is like the best way I can think of to try to simulate sitting in a classroom. You're talking to the students, explaining concepts. They interrupt with a question. You know, you're kind of interacting with each other and the instructor at the same time, and the content. This is kind of a way that we can kind of get there with an online class.
Interesting. I'll have to chew on it more. Think on it more to figure it out. How I can factor it into like what I do. One question, like I think one major question that would help me understand is potential grading. You mentioned grading a little bit, and then visibility, like who sees what and how do I know someone's seen it? Any advice or thoughts on those two things? Visibility, or who's seen it, and how do I evaluate it?
Let me double check on the grading thing. Second.
You know, the ways in which it might interact with like the class progress tool are definitely something, you know, I can think more about with completion tracking, required or manual. And if I put really required elements in that Padlet that they need, they'll find it and they'll get to it, or I'll help them point to it if they for some reason struggle.
Okay, so when you're in a discussion or a Padlet that is set up as a discussion, you click the three dots here in the bottom, you'll see something called the grade book. And I haven't totally played around with this yet, so I won't go into too much detail, but it looks like you can set a score for the activity, and then you can figure out whether you're going to look for highest score or average score across posts. And then you can see names here. So I was looking at this before on a Padlet that I had put a post onto, and so my name showed up here. So my assumption is that anybody who's posted on this Padlet is going to show up on this list and have a grade, and you can then really easily transfer that information into Brightspace.
Right. You just sort of like one clean view of like entering those scores. Yeah.
You can download a CSV file with those grades, and then you can import those to Brightspace. If you know, we can share like that import file, like that structure. And then you just restructure it real quick, and you can actually just import it directly to your gradebook. That's
even better.
That'd be neat to, that template is something we could help folks with too, especially if they're going to be heavy users of this or something like that. Yep, we could help with that. That's cool.
Yep. But even we can put that template on our knowledge base.
Yeah, and even having just a list of students and a quick, but really easily to go in and kind of enter them in the grade book directly, I think wouldn't be bad either.
If it's formative practice, it might be just who didn't do it,
right?
Who I need to follow up with and stuff like that too. Okay.
Right. I sort of plan to just grade mine on how much they interacted with the discussion, right? I'm not really looking to assess learning outcomes in discussions. I'm mostly looking for engagement. So it sort of depends on the purpose.
I'm really excited to think about it in terms of that sharing and like the social aspect. You know, another thing is like in American government class, we've been with the election, we've been like meeting at night, like optionally, like students, co-curricular activities we've been doing, like let's talk during the presidential debates, vice presidential debate. And I'm using like a Google Doc right now, which sort of works, but like I'm using tables and stuff to try to make it functional, where this is more organized potentially and allows easier sharing of pictures, live reactions to what the candidate just said. Post your
And
picture.
you can set notifications if you want it, so you can get an email anytime somebody adds a new post. And so if you're not sure if your students are going to interact with something, or you want to be able to go in as soon as somebody posts and respond to it, you can do that.
I would think like a longer term project that could be a nice feature for someone who's working on it or building on something over the course of 16 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could be a fast thing where everyone's in it at the same time working, or it could be something where you periodically check on it each week and see what people are building kind of independently or in groups. What about that? Okay, maybe the last question I would have. Can you imagine it as sort of a facilitator or a way that groups can work together? Any kind of group research, group project?
I think that is sort of the intention of the breakout link option. So you saw the Padlets had section headers at the top. If you use that kind of a layout, you can create a link that just goes to that section. And I think the idea there is that you assign that link to certain students, or maybe you use a group discussion board in Brightspace and you've got your groups assigned. You could post that link specifically for that group, and then they're only working in that particular area of the Padlet. So then the whole class is on that Padlet, but they're only looking at their own little piece.
Can they and at the very end, could it all be shared? Could it all kind of come together or something like that? Okay.
Yeah, I think you could just share the whole Padlet at the end, and then everyone could see what every other group did.
There's some interesting potential there in terms of how your work interacts or connects with other people's learning or their presentations. I can imagine all of my class presentations, you do like a biographical research project. If all of a sudden it all came to life, like if it was in a chronology of from 1877 all the way through 2000, all these different American figures that they selected for the project, that might be a really cool way to save that, present that, but then keep it and show it to future students too. That's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thank you for the walkthrough.
No problem. You ready to go? You ready to start using it?
I'm going to build one. Yep.
I'm going to check in January and make sure there's one in your course.
Where's my due date? Okay.
Game over.